this week could have been better. Could have been way better. I have a bit of a cold, so forewarning if I sound a little stuffy. But let's get to it. So we started the week out with a 4-1 win against the Islanders. Prior to this game, Tortorella challenged them Forrest Gump and compared the NHL and playing in it to a box of chocolates. Which I think is a pretty apt metaphor. You never know what you're going to really get from the teams, from the refs, from your own players, etc. But this game, we got all good stuff. Shots were up, shot quality was up. Dubois, Bjorkstrand, Dubinsky, and Atkinson all scored, and Zakharwensky had 3 assists, which is really exciting because we really need some offense right now. There were 51 shots on goal, which was the new Blue Jackets regulation record for shots on goal until the next day. Their 3-6 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Korpisalo was in net. He didn't do super well. The Jackets as a whole outplayed them shot-wise, but still it wasn't a good game. It just didn't turn up into anything real. 57 shots on goal. Foligno scored 2 of our 3 goals, and Jack Johnson scored the other one, with primary assist to Fliggy, so that's really great. The Jackets lost that one and tried to move on to play the Flyers, where we lost 1-2 in overtime, so we got 1 point out of that. Before this game, the Jackets activated Sonny Milano and immediately sent him down to the Monsters. We lost this game. It was bad. I think the Jackets didn't play like a team that they could have played like. Cam Atkinson actually had a quote on their consistent inconsistency in play, and he said that they're still finding ways to get points and to win, but it's a learning experience for this group, really. We obviously haven't gotten the results in some of them, but just stay at it. He talked a lot about how we're a young team, which is something that we hear, but not a ton. I don't think that Tortorella and Jarmo Kekalainen like using it as an excuse, but I think that it's something that needs to be remembered, that the Jackets haven't been good. Like, we had our first regulation playoff win last year. I think that, especially when we go out on the ice and we look like we didn't even ice a full team sometimes, and when, we had the end of the season that we had last year, that it's good to remember that no matter how frustrating and terrible that we sometimes feel about the Jackets, they're learning. They're learning how to do this, how to continuously be good, how to continuously keep the pressure on. And that's useful. Regardless, between this game and the next, there was a lot of chatter at Ryan Murray. There were a couple different articles. He gave a couple of interviews. He was out since November for a back injury, and he was supposed to come back in January, it was said that he was going to seem closer and closer to coming back all through February after a setback in January, and then he was activated and sent down to the Monsters for a conditioning stint. So that was really exciting. When he was with the Monsters, he scored a goal and said that he felt really good and didn't even feel his injury anymore, so that's fantastic. Less fantastic was the 2-5 loss to the Penguins. It's the Penguins. The Jackets came in slow and let the Penguins set the momentum. They were on the second half of a back-to-back, which makes it even worse. The Penguins won this game with depth, something the Jackets usually have, but just could not find. Bredin when he scored, but generally shots were really bad. We can't even blame it on dumb penalty like we were able to with, I think, the last 2 Pittsburgh losses. The Jackets are just bad against the Penguins. It's a fact of life, unfortunately. I think we can change that one day, but right now, Bob always plays bad against them. The boys almost always look snake-bitted. It's just a mess. In addition, the Jackets lost Dean Kukin, who was looking really good and defensively solid. Is upper body injury in the first, I think, and then we also lost Nick Foligno at the end of the second to a lower body injury, probably a knee. This game was just really bad for the Jackets. They couldn't play in this zone. It was embarrassing, and the Jackets were only able to pick up 3 points this week, leaving them 1 point out of the playoffs. So, with that, let's take a look at the Metro. The Caps are currently at risk of losing their lead. I'm sure they wouldn't be too cross, though, if they lost the President Trophy just this once. Regardless, they have 75 points. The Penguins have 74, and then Philly is next with 70. Tied with that, though, but with a lower regulation plus overtime wins number, are the New Jersey Devils. The Hurricanes, against all odds, I think, have managed to hold on to their second wildcard spot with 64 points. Below them are the Islanders with 64 in 1 more game, and then the Jackets with 63 in 2 less games than the Hurricanes. The only Metro team below the Jackets are the Rangers with 59 points, setting the Metro gap top to bottom at 16 points, which is the largest that it's been this season. I also feel that it might interest you to hear that over in the Atlantic, the point gap between the 3rd seed Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers is 19 points. So that just shows you, how the measure is compared to the other Eastern Division. You may be asking us this week, what do the Jackets actually need to be in the playoffs? I think that the Dispatch's Michael Ayre say it the best. He said the Jackets have 1 elite player, Bread, and then 2 great but young defensemen, Z and Jones, and then Sergei 2-time Vezina winner Bobrovsky, who can be an elite goaltender, but sometimes is not. Ayre says that they can be a playoff team if they score enough, and to score enough they need contributions from up and down their lineup. And that is the main issue. We're still in the race, but the race is harder than one might expect, especially when most of your lines aren't able to score, aren't producing. On the other hand, though, Tortorella still thinks that we're playing well. On paper, the Columbus Blue Jackets stats are actually pretty good underlyingly. Our Corsi is top 10 in the league at 51.8%. Our Fenwick is second best in the league at 53.38%. They've been good all season. We just can't get these stats into real wins, into real goals. And our shot percentage is going up. Our high danger shot percentage is going up. I linked that Allison Lucan article last week. It's fantastic. It's all getting better. That means that we are possibly getting closer to these results. But still, we're held back by our inability to score. We're held back by our inability to defend. We're held back when Bob isn't at 100%. In fact, this week a large part of the story was that Bob is our most important player. So when he's off, the whole team suffers. And Torts doesn't like pulling him, which is fair. It hurts the goaltender's confidence, I'm sure. But what I really wonder, especially after that Penguins game, is how many times will Torts allow Bob, for lack of a better word, to choke against teams like the Penguins before he gives Corpy a try against them. But that is negative talk. We can put that aside. Jarmo Kekalainen thinks that we need a strong core in the playoffs, at a minimum every year. That's his goal. And then build up to be contenders. I think that's a great plan. The Jackets have never been to the playoffs 2 years in a row. Ever. And I think that our window will really and truly be open in the next 2 to 4 years. Just looking at our prospects that are coming up. We're not the Caps, where we, make the playoffs every year, but we can't get past the 3rd round. We're not Montreal last year, where it was we have to win right now or we'll literally die. But we also have to focus on that we don't want to be the Cleveland Monsters either, where we win once, and then we don't qualify for playoffs the next year, and then we generally don't look great after that. And it's just, I think that the Jackets need to work up to it. It's not, we need to win right now or we'll die because this is our only window. It's more, winning right now is ideal. But winning a series is the first goal there. It's not, we can't just go in and immediately, win the entire playoffs. Not enough playoffs. We still have 20 games left. The Jackets have put Dean Kukan on IR and then announced that Foligno will be out 1 to 2 weeks. They didn't put him on IR, but still an injury. They pulled up Dalpe and Ryan Murray from the AHL and not Sonny Milano, which is, of course, raised a lot of questions because when Sonny Milano is producing, he's fantastic. He scores goals in bunches. He's just, really good. But when he's not producing, he is a defensive liability. I wish that he would have been able to really be a part of the team. But if I had to put a bet on it, I'd say he doesn't make it past the trade deadline. Torts doesn't trust him. He keeps getting sent back to them to the AHL. They didn't call him up right now, so that can mean that they want him down there as trade bait so that a team can get him and not have to mess with their NHL roster numbers. Just speculation, of course, but speculation that I think might have root. If you want more speculation and general trade talk, then Frank Walker does the Shoot Once podcast. He recorded it tonight. I actually got a notification while I was writing the script. I'm going to watch it while I'm editing, but you should check that out. I'll put a link down in the description. It's always really good, so that's useful. And the next week, the Jackets play the Devils, the Flyers, and the Blackhawks. 2 of those teams are in playoff spots above the Jackets. So it's kind of important that they win those games and don't allow them to spread out the Metro even more. Unfortunately, the only thing that we as fans can do is hope that they keep to the system and the system actually starts pulling results for them. Like it did, 2 weeks ago. So, with fingers crossed, that is it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like if you like this. Click subscribe if you loved it. I'm Lydia. This is Cannon Fire. And the season's not over yet.